Hi everyone, it's Joy from artfulhomemaking.com, and today I wanted to share with you how to get started with backyard chickens. Chickens are just super fun, they're super easy. So I'm just going to share what we did to get started with chickens and how we decided on a coop and that type of thing. Start off with what we did first is we decided on a coop. We decided to go with a combination chicken coop, chicken tractor. We have 1 acre. So we're on a smaller homestead type of situation. And our chickens are not able to free range because we don't have fencing, and we back up to some woods where there are quite a few animals that would love to have a chicken dinner. So we decided that the chicken tractor combined with the chicken coop idea would keep our chickens safe while giving them a free range experience. So I'll put a link in the description below to all the resources that I mentioned here. I'll put a link to where you can find a chicken coop, the one that we personally built. So first we started with the coop. We decided which coop we thought would work best with our property and with the type of chickens that we wanted to get. And so we took care of the coop first. So that was the very first step. Once we had the coop finished, then it was time to order the chickens. And I think we still had a few finishing touches to make on the coop when we ordered the chickens. Chickens probably won't live in the coop right away. You need to put them in a brooder type of situation if you buy chicks. And that's what we went with, was chicks rather than adult chickens. So we went with a recommendation of friends and some online help forums, and we used Murray McMurray Hatchery, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And that's where we bought all of our chicks. While we were building our coop, the next thing that we did was we purchased books, and we started looking up all the information we could find. The first book we bought was this little book called Fresh Eggs Daily, and Lisa also has a blog, a website where you can find so much free information. Her little book and her website are probably the most helpful in our journey to get started with chickens, and I highly recommend it. And it's very short, so it's not like you're going to be spending months reading it. It's a very easy read, but very informative. Now, I don't know, this isn't all you will need to get started with chickens, but it's a good starting place. For beginner chicken keeping, I would highly recommend this book. I also read this book during our beginning chicken journey stages. And this book, The Homesteader's Natural Chicken Keeping Handbook by Amy, is so useful. It has so much good information, recipes, and it goes from start to finish. You could probably just use this book for most of your chicken journey. I highly recommend this book. It's also a very enjoyable read. I really like this one. It has lots of pictures. I like the format of it. I'm a picture person when it comes to books, so this book was right up my alley, and I loved everything about it. The next book I would recommend, I don't have it here in the room with me because I can't find it. Someone walked off with it, or I misplaced it. But it's The Small Scale Poultry Flock by Harvey Ussery, and that book is considered kind of a classic guide for getting started with chickens. It has so much information. It's not as enjoyable to read as Amy's book, but it does have a lot of information. So this book isn't as enjoyable to read. It's more of it's a handbook. That's what it says right here. It's more of a book that you would refer to when you need help with something or you need to figure something out. I've used it for quite a few different situations. So I highly recommend having this book on hand as well. I mean, the internet is great for finding information, and that's often where we go first, but you know, what if you didn't have the internet or something? So I'm a book person, and I highly recommend these books and the Harvey Ussery one that I mentioned. So those books will help you as you're getting started. They tell so much information. After educating yourself about chickens, chicken keeping, the next thing we did is we started ordering chicks. So we went with Murray McMurray Hatchery, and we've been very happy with the chicks we received. Now, before you order chicks, I would highly recommend looking at different chicken breeds and the type of chicken that you want to raise. You know, what you hope to accomplish with the chickens, you know, meat birds or one type of bird. We were looking just for egg layers. We opted not to have a rooster at this time, so we were just looking for hens. Murray McMurray has helpful information on each one of the chickens that they sell. So their website is very useful for deciding which types of chickens you wanted. Now, one of my considerations was the color of the eggs. I didn't just want white eggs, I wanted some brown eggs, and I wanted a variety of color. And I really wanted some of the more colorful eggs where you get into blue and green, just because I'm that type of person and I thought it would be so cool. So that's an important consideration. You want to consider where you live, what area of the country you live in. You know, is it cold most of the time? Is it hot much of the time? Because different birds acclimate better to different climates. So for instance, we have some Andalusians, which are a Mediterranean breed, and they do really well in the heat. And we have very hot, humid summers, and they don't seem to be bothered by it really at all. Heat is something you really have to consider with chickens. If you live in a very hot part of the country, you might spend half the summer trying to keep your chickens cool, because the heat can really affect them in really negative ways. So we have Andalusians, but we also have several other different breeds, and we didn't really take the temperature into consideration as much as we should have. So we have some Rhode Island Reds and some New Hampshires, and one of the other ones we bought that do not like the heat, and so they're always looking miserable in the summer, and you know, the Andalusians are fine. So that's something really to take into consideration, is the type of chicken. So I would look into that very thoroughly. Another consideration is the type of feed that you want to feed your chickens, and there are so many different options. You can just buy feed already made, you can make your own feed, and we've done both at different times. We've made our own, which we're currently doing, and we've also bought pre-mixed feed. So that's another thing to consider. There are some things to consider, but overall chickens are pretty easy to get started with. They're so much fun, and most of the information that you'll need when you're getting started with chickens is from these two books. So again, I highly recommend both of these. Really help you as you're getting started on your chicken journey. Most of all, just enjoy your journey with chickens. They've been so much fun for us. We started off with 15, we now have 17, and we're getting over a dozen eggs, you know, about a dozen and a half every day. In the spring and summer, they just make so many eggs. It's been a great learning experience for all of us. We've learned so much, and I'm sure we'll continue to learn more as we continue on with chickens. So those would be the basic resources that I would recommend for beginning chicken keepers. Would be the books that I will link in the description box below. And if you choose to go with a hatchery, and even if you don't, you can find out so much information about chicken breeds and the type of climate they thrive in on the hatchery website. And if you have friends who have chickens, I would highly recommend talking to them and just getting their input. But even though almost all of our friends have chickens, we weren't able to consult anyone before we got ours. But the websites and books that we consulted were so helpful in just helping us know how to get started with them, how to take care of them. It has been some trial and error. That's one great thing about chickens is, for the most part, they're pretty resilient. There are some things that you need to be aware of and some precautions that you need to take, but for the most part, they're pretty easy to take care of and easy to deal with. It's been so worthwhile. We've been super thankful that we took the plunge and got chickens. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was helpful to you, and I'll see you in the next video.